Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that that has an excuse to go watch as many things as possible. Watching things in cinema, watching things at home in Netflix or Friends or any other streaming platform, and then brings them together, marks them out of 5, and tells you where we think your money is better spent this week. My name is Tosin, I am up in the Midlands, somewhere near Coventry, and joining me tonight on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're all right. We're all right.
Talking along.
Yeah, it was a bit of a hectic day today because I had to go to the mainland I went last night for my auntie's funeral.
Yeah.
And it was an early one. I went last night and I was worried. I remember I said to you guys I wasn't sure if I was going to get back or not. But as it was, lovely service, all finished quite well. Saw family that I hadn't seen for ages. Everybody said to me, "Oh, I remember you." Even the young ones said, "Oh, you haven't changed a bit. You know, you were just like I remembered you at
last funeral."
The last one, the last big event. So that was quite pleasant, and it was a really, really nice day. So
yeah,
and lovely Dorset. Dorset's always nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Litchit Minster. The place was called, and it was like a brand new. It was obviously had been a farm or something with fields, and they totally converted it, and it was really good.
Yeah, there's a couple of crematoriums. I think that there's this whole move to make it seem less like, you know, this daunting place to go to, but it's actually a place where, like I think you were saying earlier, that you can go and you can celebrate somebody's life. So it's
less
municipal, because sometimes council-run crematoriums can be bleak, awful places, can't they?
Yeah. Very, very sterile.
Yeah.
So it was funny, this was. But do you know what was really strange? I looked out and the sun came out again, but also there was this dead tree, right? But it was odd. Anyway, I just can't explain it. But I looked at this tree.
Daphne du Maurier.
I don't know Daphne du Maurier. I just really, I was fixated on this tree because it was just really odd. I was looking out a window.
It's Daphne du Maurier. She wrote a book about that.
Oh right, that's probably right.
The tree took on the characteristics of someone.
Yeah. Because my auntie was a real card. She was a laugh. And poetry. Well, they read out some poetry that she'd done, and it's absolutely brilliant. I said, "You should publish that," and they said, "Yeah, we're looking at some of it done because, you know, she was called the Dorset Pam Ayres apparently, which is I didn't know. Yeah, so there you go. Do you know who Pam Ayres was?
Oh yes. I've heard of Pam Ayres.
Oh yeah.
She was before my time, so I wasn't around when she was, but I've heard of her and I've heard some of her poetry. Yeah,
they are very funny.
What was your auntie's name?
Aunty Nita. Nita. Nita, yeah, but Nita. Everybody used to call her Nita. She was like she was great. She was a practical joker. She could make things. She ended up, her second husband was like a dairy farmer on Lord Lee's estate, which I think, so Lord, you know, he would have been like, so Sir, and I'm pretty sure he was there, but I didn't like to go up and say, "Oh, hello, Lord, how are you?" Yeah. But she loved that. And
was she a good age?
What was she? 82 or something. 82, I don't know. Okay. I've got the little service card somewhere. Anyway, but she was old. Yeah. So I'm trying to work out what did they say she was born. My mum, 85. Yeah, must have been about 83.
83, okay, not a bad age then.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good.
You were saying that she was a lady and she loved that? As in she actually had the title of lady, did you say? No, sorry. She worked, her second husband, Mick, worked as a dairy farmer on the Lord Lee's estate. Which was like a big estate. So, you know, he was a farmer and she absolutely, I think she had quite a tough, you know, time, but she just absolutely excelled. She actually loved that. She was a proper farmer's wife. She used to cook and do the Women's Institute and do hymns and amateur dram and all that sort of stuff. So I always remember her fondly. You know, the times I did see it. It wasn't like a regular one, but family events and stuff. And when we were kids at Christmas, I always remember saying, "Come here, Shaun. Let me tell you this joke." And, Okay, well, I'll tell you what. We're dedicating the show this evening to Aunty Nita.
Oh, okay. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we're dedicating the show. You can tell us at the end what you would have thought about it. But maybe we should.
Okay.
Maybe we should have written a poem about it, like
should have done.
Yeah, a critical one or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
but, given a critique of the show in poem form, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
But Aunty Nita, because I think you were saying earlier, we really didn't even know whether we were going to be recording this today. We were kind of like, right, well, we don't know. We'll see. But I think we were more than happy to sort of sack it off. So we're happy you made it back, Shaun, and happy that it seems like it was a good sender for Aunty Nita.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. No, okay, the show. What we usually do on the show. So obviously we're going to talk about films. We're going to talk about 3 films that were in cinemas. We're going to have 3 rounds of Netflix versus cinema. We're going to talk about film and cinema, film and Netflix, film and cinema, film and Netflix for 3 rounds. But we always have
and other streaming
platforms. And other streaming platforms. I think this week we actually have 3 different streaming platforms. For the 3 different rounds. But we first of all kick off with Also Ran's round, which is things that we might have seen or things that we might wanted to mention that maybe don't fit into the rounds, either because we've seen too much this week or because they don't fit our rules. And our rules are, what are our rules? Sharon, can you help me out here?
The rules are, it has to be a film that you've seen for the first time.
Yep.
It has to be a film. If it's a television series or a limited series, you have to have seen it in its entirety.
Yep.
And preferably, if it's one of those you think something you've seen on a platform, it should be an original drama.
All right, cool.
So, like a Netflix original, Amazon Prime original, iPlayer original, something along those lines.
Awesome. Yes, good. I remember writing up those rules and forgetting them every week. But we're going to kick off with Also Rans. And Shaun, I know because you saw a couple of things on Netflix. So I took an executive decision to put one of them in the Also Rans. You don't know which one.
That's fine, mate.
You don't even know which one that is yet.
I've got a good guess. I've got a good guess, but we'll see if I'm right.
Okay, which one do you? Okay. What do you get? What is your guess of the one that your thing I've put in the Also Rans this week?
Big Mouth. Mouth season 2.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's okay. That's cool.
Big Mouth season 2.
Yeah, and season 3 actually as well. So I've seen. I'm really up to date with them now. So
okay. So this is an animated series that's made by Nick Kroll, and it's a Netflix original, and it was on there. And I remember you've reviewed season 1 a while back, and you said you sort of stumbled across it, and you actually quite liked it because it's all about teenagers going through the hormonal stage and everything like that, and it's kind of lewd. It's almost kind of like it's a little bit like Porky's in animated form.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, it's very much. What would you say? It's very much. But what I think as well, it was there was one of the episodes in this, which was a really good one, was about inclusivity, and it said, and it wasn't just like, where it goes transgender or bi or LGBT or whatever like that, and this whole big list comes up of them, like, I don't know, just like hundreds and hundreds of. So, because today must be really confusing with all that stuff, and it's I think it's quite poignant and quite, it can be sometimes. I think this episode was a little bit, couple of moments may have been over the top and a bit crass and not needed, but on the whole, it is generally a really, really, really interesting, and fun. Yeah, it's really good to watch and it is adult. It is adult. It's not. But it makes you think back to your childhood, like when does that person like me? Does he not? Or is he? And some of the characters. Oh, do I like boys or do I like girls or do I like both? Do you know what I mean? There's all this. It's all the angsty sort of thing, and then you've got the shame wizard, which I love. He's like one of my favourite characters, and he's got a great British accent. But he sort of turns out and he goes, "Oh, what did you do?" Like if because let's just say, I don't know, a lad has an accident or something, you know what I mean? And he turns out and he goes, "Oh, what did you do?" You know what I mean? And there's also the bits you might like is. One of the guys, he goes out and there's all the ghosts turn up, like David. But in one of this series, there's like David Barry and all that. They go, "Oh, how are you?" It's very odd. But yeah, it's kind
of like great. It's kind of like a coming of age tale, really, isn't it?
Definitely, yeah. It's a coming of age tale with some serious stuff. Maybe not for everybody.
Yeah,
but it's it's good. I enjoy it. I think it's a good watch.
And I'm guessing that unlike the other show that you keep watching, this is one you actually like. The other show being Peaky Blinders.
Oh, Peaky Blinders, yeah. I've sort of, that's taken a little bit of I watched the first episode of the next season, but I haven't got any further than that at the moment because I think it's very samey. To me, it feels samey. It's going to be the same thing, but just with different characters. Yeah. So the same thing. It's going to be like. They're going to get involved. It's going to be like another sort of war thing, and then he's going to get nearly killed and get away with it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay.
Okay.
But I should probably watch it purely for what's his name? What's the guy we like? You know, the actor, the famous actor, Tom Hardy.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tom Hardy. Yeah, I watch it because he's class. In fact, the acting is really, really good, but I'm just finding it a little bit samey for me.
I understand that. I totally understand that. So, So my contributions to the Also Ran section this week is that I actually experienced the future of cinema this week. Well, at least I experienced my future in cinema anyway, because I went to a silver screening. Because I'm not sure that you guys are aware of this. They started doing some screenings at cinemas, which they label silver screen, which is essentially for older people in the middle of the day. So around about 2 p.m., they'll put on a film. And it's usually a film that is released a bit recently. It's a little bit nostalgic, but they reckon that, older people would probably like it. So
what was it? Put us out of our misery, Toes. Put us out of our misery.
Oh, it was yesterday.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I like that.
Is that the Beatles film?
That's the Beatles film.
The Beatles one. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that since. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Shaun saw it and Shaun reviewed it on the show, and I never got a chance to see it, and I was like, oh, it's in cinemas. It was a silver screening, and this is actually after Fleabag, it's the most packed cinema that I have been in recently. Like I walked in there. Yeah.
Sorry, I've got to come in here. I watched the first 1.5 episodes of Fleabag on iPlayer.
Yeah.
Because it's ITV3. Yeah, it's good. I can see where you're coming from there. I can see where you're coming from. So I'll let you know my thoughts when you've seen
the whole thing.
Caught up. Yeah.
No, Fleabag. Very, very good show.
I thought that was
So was it full of people of that demographic, or just people who are available during the day?
Oh no, it was full of people of that demographic. It's kind of like a total win, and I think it's one of these weird things because sometimes besides just using this as an excuse to watch films, we actually get a bit philosophical on this show, or we get a bit actually talk about the issue of Netflix versus cinema and all that. And I'm guessing these are people who come from another generation where for them going to the cinema was an event. And they're the kind of people who would make an appointment to watch something at a certain time, even if it's on TV at home. Yeah,
absolutely. And they're probably less likely to have Netflix.
Yeah,
they're not a generation. They probably won't think, oh, I know, they probably think, there's enough on the telly.
Yeah.
And I'll go to the pictures.
Yeah.
So they probably wouldn't have Netflix anyway.
Well, as I say, it's weird. My mum, right?
But if you build it, they will come.
They will come.
Yes.
Like my mum, she's got all those channels.
Yeah.
She's got Virgin TV and she watches maybe BBC One, BBC Two, ITV.
Well, my mum gets a lot out of her preview because she watches Walker Texas Ranger every night.
Texas Ranger kicked my teeth in when you kick. That's how Chuck and
Chuck Norris. Chuck. She loves Chuck Norris. My mum is 85, going on 86, and she absolutely loves Chuck Norris.
I love it. Sorry, carry on, Sharon.
That's cool.
Whenever anyone says to her, "Why do you like Chuck Norris so much?" she just says, "I like the way he looks."
I have to admit, I do absolutely love it whenever I walk into your house. Like whenever I'm on the island and I walk into your house around a certain time of day, and you just know your mom's just going to be sat down there watching Walker.
Yeah, she is. It'll be on her. Even when he's like kicking and bashing people, it's just like she's watching it, and she's like, "Oh, he's bashing people," or I've seen this one before, but I'll watch it again.
That's good. Yeah.
So
I don't think old Ben Stiller liked him in Dodgeball, did he? Do you remember that scene?
I do remember that scene. I remember that scene. That's like a post-credit thing, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's great.
Post-credit. Yeah, I do remember that scene. So so I saw the future of what my cinema was what my relationship with cinema is gonna be like. Going to the cinema at 2:00 in the afternoon, which I'm wondering how's that different. I do that now. But anyway, and also I think I put something on Facebook. I started watching When They See Us, which is
yes, I'm aware of the drama. I haven't seen it myself, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
It's about the Hyde Park, the Central Park rape thing, isn't it? Where this one woman, the white woman, was raped, and then it was alleged that by 5 black men and
5 non-white men.
5 non-white men, and they sort of rounded up anyone. It was like, okay, you'll do.
Yeah.
Rather than following the evidence.
Well, yeah. That's it was in the 80s in New York, and I mean, I think what the NYPD was like in the 80s in New York has been chronicled in a whole bunch of different places. I think Serpico, for instance, is an NYPD film, and it's But I started watching this thing because everybody's raving about it. It's made by Ava DuVernay, and anything she makes is worth watching. And I'm halfway through the first episode, and I'm not sure I can keep watching it. I'm just not sure I can keep watching it because I've mentioned before on the show how sometimes I can't hack it when just seeing black people being brutalized again. I know that there's stories that need to be told, and I know people need to know this stuff, but there's something in me that just kind of goes, oh no, sorry, I can't. It's too raw. I can't hack it. And there's a bit where one of the kids is 14. And the way they are treating this kid, I'm just it's really effective. It's very, very well made, because if it wasn't as well made, it wouldn't be as effective. But it's so effective that it makes me think, I'm not sure I can keep watching it. So maybe I'll watch it. Maybe I'll finish it. I hope to finish it at some point, but I'm not sure. I might just get a bit too emotional and go, no, can't hack this anymore. But
that's understandable.
Yeah, but everything I've heard says that it's good. So anyway, so
how did you rate yesterday?
Yesterday, I thought it was good. I liked yesterday. The thing, I think it's good. It's charming. It's very, very charming, which is something that Richard Curtis does very, very well. And I think I see a lot more of the Richard Curtis than the Danny Boyle in it, because Danny Boyle directed it, Richard Curtis wrote it.
Yes.
Yeah, and even though the central premise is that the man wakes up in a world in which the Beatles' music never existed, I've mentioned before that I'm not particularly a massive Beatles fan. The fact that they became so big, well, I'm not so sure how much it has to do with them being good. If you get what I mean. I know.
Oh dear.
I know.
Sacrilege toes.
I know.
No, it's a fair comment. I mean, the thing is with them is they totally changed the way music worked. Yeah. So instead of being like your 12 Bars Blues or your 3 Chord Wonders or anything like that, it was they came up with where
it was like
music changed,
because everyone was like a sort of Elvis imitator, weren't they, up until that point in pop music?
Yeah, it was very much rock and roll, and then
changed it to a band.
I mean,
well, you see,
they sort of changed. They were the first ones to change key in a song, in an ordinary pop song. So and they've been the influence on so many other bands.
In the film, it does mention that as well, which is quite good.
Yeah. Well, I like some touches in the film. I mean, but there are some things that well, okay, for instance, the people talk about the Beatles changing the way music worked, right? And and enough people say that I'm sure it must be true, but it must be true for Western world. So essentially, the Beatles do not have that kind of sway in Nigeria, where I grew up, for instance. They just don't. And there's like a scene where he does these, for me, some of the truest bits of the film are the bit where he starts singing the Beatles songs in a world that nobody knows the Beatles, and he's going to pub and people are just ignoring him. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably what would happen, because I think at the time when the Beatles came out, there was nothing else going on. Like, if they were on the Ed Sullivan show, everybody was watching the Ed Sullivan show. In a world like today, where everybody's going to be on their phones or on the things, or has all these other distractions or other things to look at, and Netflix and I'm not so sure that would. I'm not so sure that the songs are arresting enough to make you go, you know what? Stop everything. And so the fact that he starts becoming a big star, and there's a bit where they show like different people around the world going, and there's a bit where they show an African guy, so like raving about this guy and him, and I'm like, no, because the Beatles didn't become big. the Beatles didn't become big around Africa, so that doesn't ring true to me. But I think that after a while it ends up just going for more like a romantic comedy as opposed to dealing with the idea of a world without the Beatles.
Yeah,
but I do.
Yes, it's the relationship is at the heart of the film.
Yeah,
isn't it?
The relationship at the heart of the things, and the fact that the world doesn't have the Beatles in it sort of takes a back seat. So, but I really, really liked it. But we need to carry on.
We do.
We need to crack
also rans are taking longer.
Also rans are taking longer than the main features.
Yeah, also rans are running away with the show. Anyway, so we're gonna start talking about the things that we've seen in the cinema this week, and in our round one, we're gonna kick off with the movie of the week or the movie of the moment, the one that has all the buzz. That if you're going to see any film this week in the cinema, this is the film that you cannot escape from, and that film is Joker. Now,
and we've all seen it, haven't we?
We have all seen it. This is really weird.
This is great. This is really weird.
Yeah, this week we have like 3 films in which, like, the first one we're going to talk about, 3 of us have seen it. The second film, 2 of us have seen it. The last film, 1 of us has seen it. So, so it kind of works out quite well. So this is a film called Joker. Now, Sharon, do you want to tell us a little bit about what Joker's all about while I set up a 7-minute timer?
Okay, Joker.
We got to spend more time on this.
This is the DC. It's DC Comics.
Yep.
But this is like a completely new reimagining of the Joker. So we're no longer into like spandex costumes or
CGI.
CGI. This is sort of grounding a more of a reality.
Yep.
It's set in the past. It looks like it's set in the late 50s,
70s, 1970s. All
really?
the way. Yeah. Even the logo at the start, the Warner Brothers logo at the start, which set me off, was I remember going when I used to go to the pictures. That was one 1970s. Yeah.
So I was like 70s, 80s.
Yeah. 70s,
I was thinking sort of a bit earlier than that, but then so it's got a slightly sort of grainy feel. The colours are more naturalistic, the lighting is more naturalistic, and so you meet this character Arthur Fleck, who is a professional clown, and from the fact that you see him talking to like this sort of social worker, that he sort of struggles with sort of mental health problems, and he has this condition where he like laughs compulsively, but inappropriately. It's sort of it's like an emotional response. He laughs, but he's always like, when he wants to cry, he laughs, and so you don't know from his what sounds are coming out of him what his real emotional state is.
I'm just going to say that this. I actually years ago when I was younger, I worked with someone who had this. I wouldn't say it was something that, but I was seriously remember the charge hand told him off, and he went red and he burst into hysterical laughter. And the guy was telling him off for saying, "It's not a funny matter. What the hell are you laughing at?" And he couldn't help himself.
No.
And he just burst into laughter. We felt a bit cruel really because we used to call him names, used to call him beat, but that's exactly what he had. So it is definitely a condition.
Yeah. So and it's excruciating to watch.
There
are moments where it's deeply disturbing to watch, and so you're instantly you're not in the world of pow kapow bish bash bosh, or even in the world of Ben Affleck and his Batman, or
thank God
the last Joker we saw. Or the Suicide Squad type Joker.
Oh,
this is a completely. This is stripped down to sort of like raw humanity. This is a man, and you see him going through sort of basically a mental crisis. You see him starting off functioning, and then as the film progresses, you see his mental state deteriorate.
Yeah.
And as he deteriorates, but Arthur Fleck diminishes, then the Joker side of him sort of increases and becomes to take over. And then you see it against a background of like social unrest, where the inequalities of the society are really becoming obvious in Gotham, where the have-nots are beginning to really resent the haves, and how there's this complete disconnect between the people in power and the people who actually live on the streets.
Yeah, it's a little bit French Revolution.
Yeah, it's a much bleaker DC universe than we've ever seen before.
Yeah.
And at its heart is this sort of the mental deterioration of this one particular character, and violence and chaos and horror does ensue through this sort of journey we as we experience it with him. And it's one of those films where most films you get like a moment of crisis, or you get a moment of like a violent event, for example, and then things sort of calm down a bit, and then it sort of ratchets up to the next level. This one, I felt that there was this sort of gradual increase in tension as the film went on.
Yeah,
it wasn't sort of like they sort of go from dramatic point to dramatic point. It was this slow incline of like starting really quietly, and then it sort of got steeper as the film progressed. So it's not a film where it's like instant action.
No.
It's like this slow dawning, sort of creeping tension as the film progresses.
Yeah. So okay, thank you very much, Shaun. That is, I agree with everything you said there. And shall we unleash a Shaun?
You can unleash me if you want. You can imagine this unleash. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, this was great. I could not find at any point. There was a bit at the beginning where I thought, oh, maybe that's a bit daft. But later on, it sorted out all right. There was nothing in this film that structure I thought was all perfectly good. I liked the bit where he was being investigated more or less straight away which, because sometimes in films, because something happens and you think, well, surely where's the police and all this? Where's the police and all this? And there actually is a present there. So I loved all that. This is a really, really brave movie. Really, really brave movie.
It's unlike anything we've seen from DC.
And it's totally... Pardon?
I was going to say...
this is really brave.
I'll say that is
controversial.
That is a very, very good word to use, Shaun. It's a very good word to use.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it twice already.
Oh, yeah?
I've seen it twice. And it's absolutely brilliant. And I just think, like Sharon was saying, reiterate with the laugh, he's actually trying to... You can almost see... The tears. He can't help it, but it's also like you can, and I think he does that so well, where you can actually see he's scared. He is scared, but because he is scared, he's got that. So his eyes are different to his to the maniacal laughter.
We know it's Joaquin Phoenix.
Go on, Toad.
So Joaquin Phoenix plays Arthur Fleck / Joker, and we know once you have Joaquin Phoenix in a movie, you know that it's going to be intense. He is an intense actor. It's going to be intense. It's going to just sort of like push forward and everything like that. So that was a given that it was going to be. But he is really, really good. And at those moments, those sort of moments of Shaun, you were saying, where you feel sorry for this guy and you can see that he can't really help himself and all that. But at the same time, you sort of have this thing of feeling sorry for him, but also being really scared of him. So it's...
It's quite funny. I mean, I really like that character development there, in this movie, because you're right. To start off with, Toes, you do think, oh yeah, poor guy. But then, I mean, you can understand his descent into madness. But I don't know. That's what I mean. It's a really brave thing. And there were lots of talking points in this that I could talk about. And I've had discussions with people. There's one scene particularly where a couple of his clown co-workers come there, and there's a bit in there, and I was trying to work it out. Was that real? Was that a dream sequence?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, was part of that real, part of that not? There's just so much.
There's elements in the film where you don't know if what you've seen happened or whether it's just something that he has.
And my take on that, which I'll tell you, if we do a spoiler on this one, I'll tell you, but I'm not going to say what my ideas are on it. But maybe I'll do a spoiler on this one.
Yeah, okay, and there's a sequence involving a neighbour, which we won't go into either, where part of you's thinking, we know that he imagined some things, and then you're left to imagine what the consequences of that are, because you see him afterwards, but you don't know what happened. There's an element of that, your imagination then goes, okay, what do we think happened?
Yeah,
what's going on here?
It's a good film. I mean, I think it's as you guys were saying, it is a good film, and there are things about it that, Shaun, as you were saying, there's. Essentially, when you're talking about talking points, there's many I think people refer to them as hot takes nowadays, because once you hear a film called Joker, you kind of know where it's going. You know it's going to be about the Joker. He's called the Clown Prince of Crime in the comics. You know he is unhinged, and the fact is that the Joker in the comics, I think he was probably come out as a bit of a comical character, but where they've taken that character over the decades since, he is a scary, scary, scary guy. And some of the things that Joker has done, Joker has been responsible for some of the most atrocious things that have happened in the comic. And once the film is called Joker, you kind of know where it's going. But I still feel like, there's something about where this film goes, where you're looking at it, and it's kind of like, oh, this is how the far right rises, almost. There's elements of that. There's elements of that.
I mean, what I really liked was old Thomas Wayne was made to be like a really, really nasty person.
Which
I thought, So
Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's, that's Batman's dad.
Oh man, Yeah, Batman's dad. He was nasty.
Yeah.
There was nothing nice about him at all.
Well, he was just a capitalist. He was just like, he was a rich businessman, and it's notoriously hard to find a very nice, good, rich businessman. So and I think that's the way they sort of painted him, is like, if a guy had was a multimillionaire, owned a company that had his name on above the thing, has a logo, and all, what would he actually be like?
Becomes president, possibly.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
exactly.
Where are they going to go with this film? Well, we know that there's a
Batman coming, don't we? We know that there's a new Batman.
Oh, right.
Robert Pattinson has been cast as the new Batman.
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, yeah. He's going to be in a film called The Batman. But I feel like this is a standalone. I think this film is not really going to link to anything else, because it said there's a lot of talking points. Some people have been complaining, saying that the film is going to be like people are going to use it like as an apologetic, or like, as an excuse for, like, school shooters and people like that, because it's kind of like the character arc of Arthur Fleck, or Joker, in the film is very similar to some high school shooters, and how they've gone, like how they've been put upon, and they've been seen as weird, and they've been told like all this kind of stuff, and they've been made fun of, and then at one point they snap, which is kind of what happens in this film. So there's things about this film that I like, but as I was watching this film, I was like, this is the kind of film that critics would love, but the general public will be split on. Like, there'll be people who, like, I know, for instance, because this film is, as I said, it's very 70s, and Shaun, you've made no bones about the fact that you love the 70s era. Like, I do,
yeah, totally.
And so I was looking at this going, okay, this is a film that's kind of made for the Shauns of this world, because Shaun's going to be watching this thing going, oh yeah, I remember this. Sure enough, I came on and I had a look, and critics love it. It's like 90-something% with critics, but with audiences, it's around about 50, 55, 58. Which and I can totally see it, because as Shaun says,
what's that on Rotten Tomatoes or something?
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, yeah. And like Shaun says, with this film, it's slow. It's slow. There isn't like a whole bunch of action or anything like that. It's slow. It's thinky. It's seeing this person just sort of like almost sort of disintegrate or become something else, and it makes you ask a whole bunch of questions. I think the performances are great. I think Frances Conroy as his mother is really, really good. I think, if Robert De Niro shows up, the whole Robert De Niro thing, I mean, the fact that they cast Robert, because there were bits of this where I was thinking that this film feels like a 1970s Martin Scorsese movie. Well, or 1980s Martin Scorsese movie. And the fact you have Robert De Niro,
Well, one of the characters, there's one of the characters that reminds me of Peter Boyle in Taxi Driver. There's a character in the film Taxi. Have you seen Taxi Driver?
Yeah.
Robert De Niro film.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where there's an actor called Peter Boyle.
Yeah, I know
think
Peter Boyle. Yeah, I know Peter Boyle. I love the
guy. And one of the characters where he's working totally reminded me of the Peter Boyle character in Taxi Driver.
Mm.
So I mean that was I thought that's similar sort of thing. Yeah. As you can tell, I love this movie.
I can tell you love the film. I think for me, there was a bit of a problem in that, having read comics and knowing about the Joker and everything, the film went exactly where I expected it to go. I can't really say that there was anything in the film that was a surprise to me. So it's like, once they said we're going to make a film called Joker, it's going to be about this, and I was like, well, okay, this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going. Almost like all the way to, okay, this is how it's going to end. Nothing was a surprise to me in the film. There was a bit where there was something that could have been a bit of a surprise, and I was like, okay, look, if they're going to follow this thing through, this is going to be a very bad idea. This will be a rubbish idea if they follow through with this idea. But then they sort of like managed to twist it a little bit and go a bit like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. And there's a large part of this film where it's almost kind of like, well, we don't really know. How can you say that's right or that's not wrong? Or how do you know that that's what you're seeing is real? There's a large part of that, and there's a whole bunch. The film plays narrative tricks with you where it's almost kind of saying, well, we don't know what's right. We don't know what's this. Is this? Is that? And so, yeah, I quite liked it. But I have to admit that it is a bit of a thinker, and I don't think it is as... You know what people like? If you see a poster of this film, you will see at the top of the poster it probably says "Film of the Year," and I'm not sure about that, but I did really like it. For me, I would give it a 4.
Yeah, for me, I'm one of those sort of slightly ambivalent audience members. I appreciate the craft of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't fault any of the performances, and I appreciate, the mood, the tone, the feel of the film. But for me, I was just slightly ambivalent about the content for me. So
it leaves you a bit cold.
Exactly. I recognise that it's a good piece of filmmaking.
Yeah.
But I didn't
for you personally. Yeah. No, I mean, I can totally understand that.
So I personally would only give it a 3.
Okay.
Yeah. That's it. Me, I think this film's really, really brave. I loved it intensely. For me, it's a big 5 with the cherry on top. A massive 5. Best film I've seen this year. This goes down as my top film, and that's even better than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and all the other. There's certain films that I can remember. I can't remember a lot of films from this year because I didn't like a lot of them. But this is up there. This is big. This is major. I've seen it twice within the space of 2 days, and I'm probably going to go and see it another couple of times because it's that good. So 5 from me with the cherry on top.
Okay, cool. Good,
we're out of time. Well done.
Well, we're out of time. Yeah, I gave us that was too low. So we had 14 minutes on that. So Joker. Oh well, I think we can recommend to go see the film, but as I said, be warned.
It's certainly worth seeing. Certainly worth seeing.
It's not particularly warm. It is quite a cold, detached film almost. And
I think what I liked about it is it was a believable descent into madness, and there wasn't any CGI. And to me, I thought, to me, me with my little foibles, which I hate, I just thought was really good. And I thought the police coming on him, we couldn't find you, all that sort of stuff, really worked. It was great. I couldn't find, I couldn't find any fault in this film. So
it deserved your top marks then.
It does.
If you find it faultless.
All right, cool, good stuff. So now we go over to Netflix, and this is a film that Shaun, you have dug up, and I had a look at this film. I was actually I'm interested to find out about this film. So it's a film called Westerplatte Resists.
Yeah.
From what I can see, it's a Polish movie made in 1967.
Yeah. It's basically it was a Netflix film, so I thought, well, I do like my war movies.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a dramatisation about the first battle of Poland when the war started and
Danzig and all that.
Yeah, the free port of Danzig, and it's about obviously the Polish army. There's not too many of them. I think they're outnumbered like about 4-1. And there's a little bit about where they all sat around talking, drinking, saying, what's going to happen? Oh no, the British will be all right. They're coming, And there is actually a bit in the film when a little bit they say, the British are going to come and help. But they see some ships coming. They're like, the British are, no, it's not. No, it's more Germans. But anyway, because I think they feel that we sort of let them down a bit, really. Yeah, that's the feeling I got. Anyway, so what it is, you got Westerplatte, it's a region in Poland. The first bit was supposed to take, the Germans thought it would be like 10 hours to take, but it ended up being like 7 days. So they held out for like 7 days against all odds. I mean, because bearing in mind this was a free port, there's some German cruisers there that were actually doing the shelling, and all the Polish army had was a few anti-tank guns, but they managed to hold on. So that's basically it's basically a war film. It's like it reminded me very much of those old British war films, like In Which We Serve, Dunkirk, all the same. And it was a black and white movie, so probably a lot of youngsters won't like it because they don't like, no, it's black and white. But so it's a black and white movie. But for me, the black and white works with these sort of war movies,
Yeah, so it made in 1967, so it's going to have a feel about it, isn't it?
Yeah. And
the people who made it, it's within living memory for them, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And obviously 67, I guess Polish are still under, communist.
It's a communist.
Communist in the communist bloc. So, if I was to be like my little foibles about the weapons, the German weapons were a little bit sort of Soviet, should we say? But apart from that, it was a good war movie. It was like Dunkirk, those sort of things. There's you've got the heroes, you've got the odd little character, you've got the officers saying, what are we going to do?
You follow a group of same group of men through the film.
And there's some good action scenes in it.
I'm just happy to find out that there was like Polish cinema happening in the 60s, because
there's some good Polish movies. There's one, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's about the Warsaw Uprising. Have you ever seen that, Shaun? Famous film. Which is because the Polish when they thought they were going to be liberated, and there was an uprising, right? They uprised, and this whole film, and they went through all the sewer tunnels and all that, and they held out because they thought the Russians were going to, and then the Russians stopped because they wanted, obviously, and then the Germans went back in, So basically, the Polish underground army took back the capital, and then the Russians didn't help them. Yeah. And then the Germans went back in and practically gassed them, killed them and all that. Really, really good film. I'll have to find out what that is now. I think it's called the Battle of Warsaw or the Warsaw Uprising, but that's a Polish film.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And there are a couple of other good Polish films that I've seen. Yeah.
So with this one, obviously when it comes to like war movies, especially World War II movies, we have I think a lot of the stuff is colored by Americans and the way the Americans sort of portray the film, or sometimes even like, and so let's extend the British and the way like, British war movies. Did you find anything different about this one, like from a Polish perspective compared to the usual, like, The Longest Days or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's in that sort of vein, It's in that sort of vein.
But
really.
Did you find anything different that sort of surprised you about the fact that this was like a Polish film as opposed to an American or British one?
Sort of culturally, do you think?
Not really. I think that was the whole thing. It was a standard war movie, really, in comparison.
So they wanted to make their own.
Their own take on it.
I don't know about how available cinema was to the Poles under communism, whether there was restrictions about what films they could see. So this was their way of saying, okay, we've got our stories to tell.
I mean, as I say, the only bit I could see in it, really, which was, because they didn't mention Russians at all, but they kept saying about, the British have let us down, the British have let us down. So I do wonder if there was that bit there. There was quite a few during the film.
Thing. Because British sentiment.
British, So
they didn't mention the Russians.
No, they never mentioned anything about the Russians or anything else. It was just all, all the British will cut. The British will cut. Oh no, they're not. And that bit's particularly stuck in my mind. Look, there's the British ships are coming. Oh no, they're not. They're not British. They're Germans. So I think that was probably the sort of the communist bent on it, because obviously that would have been the communist bloc and we would have been the West, wouldn't they? So obviously perhaps at that time, 1967, there was a bit of a, there wasn't a lot. There was perhaps a bit. Well, there would have been. There would have been
from Uncle territory, aren't we?
Actually, there would have been tension because that was when the Arab-Israeli conflict was on, wasn't it? So 73, so Yom Kippur and all that. Sorry, anyway, we're going back now. Yeah. Apart from that, all in all, it's just a standard black and white war film, which you could have John Wayne in, or Robert Ryan, or John Mills,
But just in Polish.
Just in Polish, yeah. So a war movie just in Polish. So there was nothing really new in it that I could say, or nothing out of the ordinary. It was a good watch. It was an okay watch, but I'm just going to give this an average 3-star, really, because it didn't blow me away or anything. No pun intended. It wasn't that good. But I will find out about the
about the Warsaw Uprising film.
Yeah, Warsaw Uprising film. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I did.
Good, thank you, Shaun. And now we go to the film that two of us have watched in the cinema, and this film is Judy. Now, this is a film, the title is called Judy. It's about Judy Garland, starring Renée Zellweger, and I think, quite frankly, I don't think she would forgive us, Shaun, if any of us tried to actually say what this film is about. So I think Shaun has to take the lead on this.
Shaun would probably tell us more.
Shaun, as the resident Judy Garland, as the resident Judy Garland, sort of fangirl, would you please tell us what this one's about?
I'm a fan. Well, this is, as we know, Judy Garland, and this is not the Judy Garland we know from film, the films we know of as best from, like The Wizard of Oz or A Star Is Born. This is Judy Garland at the end of her life, as we later find out. This is like the end of her career. All of the things that she's been through are just beginning to tell on her private life, on her career, on her health. We know that she started work very young, as a young teenager, and they basically tried to suppress puberty with her to make her so that she kept slim and she kept small. So the studios basically started feeding her barbiturates when she was a teenager to make her lose weight, and then when she was finding she was all keyed up, they used to give her more drugs to help her sleep, and then to wake her up in the morning. She was given some other pills in the morning. So she spent all her basically working career drugged up to the eyeballs. And by the time she's hit her mid-40s, she's exhausted physically, she's exhausted mentally, and she's got this reputation for being unreliable, for being late, for being unpredictable, and so the studios are not employing her anymore for films. She's got no manager. She's basically adrift. She's got no home. One of her previous husbands has sort of basically left her with huge debts and penniless. She earned very little from her films. The studios made millions from her, but her own personal fortune was minimal. So she had nowhere to live. And so towards the end of her working career in Hollywood, she was offered basically a run in a London nightclub. And these in the 60s, the London nightclubs weren't just like, a disco and a bar. They were like theatres. So they could seat 1,000 people.
All right.
And so she was offered a run of something like 3 months at the Talk of the Town nightclub in London. And they would accommodate her. They would look after her. It was the whole package.
So it sounds essentially like what they do in Las Vegas nowadays with like Celine Dion had a residency at one of the casinos.
As a residency, absolutely. Yeah. It's absolutely that. But she was in London, so she goes through this. There's a difficulty where she's got 3 children. She's got Liza Minnelli, who's her eldest, and then she's got Lorna Luft and Joey Luft, her children, with her 3rd husband, I believe. And they've been living with her and from hotel to hotel or from different gig to gig. And they more or less have said to their dad, say, we don't want to move around anymore. We want to stay somewhere. Yeah. And so he says, if you go to London, I think the children should stay with me. So she leaves her children behind and she goes to London, and the film basically focuses on that decision she makes to go to London. And then when she's in London, you see her meeting the London theatre world, and then she's interacting with some of her fans. There's like this gay couple who have been through a dreadful time because of the laws at the time. Yeah. And they just adore her, and also openly looks at her struggles with alcohol and with the use of drugs to help her sleep, drugs to help her wake up. Yeah. And the fact that she's a much older woman
than her actual age.
Yeah, so she's in her mid-40s, but if you looked at her now, you'd say she probably looked more like 60. Yeah. And there's a tragic film that I saw a number of years ago that was made at the time when she was living in London, and it starred Dirk Bogarde. It was slightly autobiographical. And she's tragic in it. She absolutely is tragic character in there. You just look at her and you want to weep. And I think they've captured that part of her life, that frailty, the desperate sadness what was the end of her life. Yeah. She died. She was dead at 47. Yeah, yeah. And so there's joy in it, as that you get to see her. You see the songs, you hear the music, and all the songs that made her famous. Yeah. But there's also there's a tragedy that underlines the whole film. So yeah, it's not a jolly film by any means, but it sort of looks at this star. The star was born, and now this is that star where the light has faded on them a little bit. Yeah, and you see them in the twilight of their life.
Yeah, so this is like a part of a new wave of biopics, however you want to say it, that I'm quite enjoying, where it's not a cradle to grave thing. It's like, this is a very specific period of their life, and we're going to see what happens there. A bit like Stan and Ollie last year.
Yes.
So
Stan and Ollie, yeah. And there was that one. Did you ever see the film "The Movie Stars Die in Liverpool"?
Oh, film stars don't die in Liverpool.
Die in Liverpool.
Yes, I've got that on my watch list.
Right, you'd enjoy that. I'm sure you would.
That's an awesome.
And
film.
Also, it's also like My Week with Marilyn as well. Which a couple of weeks, years ago now.
It's My Week with Marilyn. That's where the whole thing he plays Laurence Olivier, isn't it? And he's brilliant.
Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh plays Laurence Olivier. That's a great movie.
Okay,
we're digressing.
Speaking about people playing legends. Now, when I saw this film was being released, and one of my first things was Renée Zellweger. Oh my God, Renée Zellweger is going to be playing Judy Garland. This could go wrong. This could go very, very wrong. And I know in some of the trailers I've seen them, and I haven't been quite convinced. But Sharon, you obviously are the Judy expert here. What did you think about Renée Zellweger as Judy Garland?
I did struggle to see Judy in her.
Yep.
I think the best moments were when she was on stage performing, and then she lifted her. But it's just some every now and then the holding of the head and the expression. You think, yeah, that's got a bit of Judy about it. But just putting on a black wig and sort of wearing having the hair and the clothes isn't enough sometimes to convey a character. But she does convey the frailty of her. But for me, the look, I didn't always see Judy in her.
Yeah,
I must admit.
I would concur with you on that, Sharon. Yeah. I thought that, and sometimes I thought she was trying too hard, and some of the expressions looked a bit forced to me.
Yeah, because they were from some of the films. That bit is from a film, so you've obviously been looking at that particular film to get those characteristics. But I did enjoy, not quite there.
I did enjoy some of the flashbacks with like the Mickey Rooney ones and all that.
Scenes.
Yeah, the Mickey Rooney scenes. So we do actually go back to and I mean it was I thought it was well done. Where is it? Which mayor was it? It was one of the mayors, wasn't it? That was like
Louis B.
Yeah. I mean he
the
was
way
very
the bullying was terrifying. It was terrifying.
Louis B. Mayor, the studio head.
Yeah,
I thought you meant like the mayor of London.
Yeah, that might have been alluding to something else. I was thinking
there was a certain tone about some of the scenes.
Stuff that you were thinking. I wonder,
You wonder,
Or whether they saw like referring to Harvey Weinstein or something.
The old casting couch comes to mind.
Yes, there was. There's an element of it felt like it was inappropriate suggestions or speech.
Yeah.
And there's one thing where she you can see how they controlled her life to the absolute nth degree. I mean, she had no childhood of her own at all. It was just bitterly tragic, really.
Yeah, it was a tragedy, wasn't it? Really. I mean, for me, I thought it had moments. I mean, I didn't. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I don't know loads about Judy Garland. I know like the things with the marriage, and I probably know more about her daughters than I do.
Yeah,
Judy
but it's good that they had like Lorna Luft in there, and they had like Liza Minnelli, and the character who played Liza Minnelli, I thought she looked.
She was, Liza. That's exactly what I was just coming to. Liza, they got her right. So
just before her cabaret days.
Yeah. Mm. So I mean, I don't really know. It's quite interesting because when you watch things like this, you sort of go back and you see what they were like on YouTube and see clips of them on YouTube to see how well it. Because obviously, I didn't know. Apart from the movies, I wouldn't really have known what she was like. Do you know what I mean? Mm. So, but to actually watch this, I mean, I quite enjoyed it. I won't say I didn't enjoy it. It was a interesting film, good film. But as I say, for me, I mean, you probably know more about Judy Garland when she was older than I do. But as a biopic, I think it worked.
Okay, so Sharon, I think we haven't actually asked. How did you like this film? How many stars would you give it?
It's a tough one because
it is a tough one.
I would probably go. It is a tough one actually. I'm torn between a 3 and like a 4.
4, yeah.
So I would want to go 3.5 ideally with it. I know we don't like to do half points.
No, don't worry. I've gotten used to them.
If I go 3.5 as well, then that'll even it up, won't it?
Yes, I'm happy to go 3.5 with this because I like the fact that it took this particular period of time and the fact that how people wanted to help her, and then she was almost like she wouldn't let them in some ways. She had like this slightly self-destructive streak to her where she would like choose the wrong men, and the people who were trying to help her she would push away, and then she'd be attracted to these sort of destructive things. So but yes, it was a lot of
disappointments. You could understand it, and you could see her disappointments because there was sometimes when she was really happy for a little while. And best time she slept for like, and then it's just like knock, so I'm going to give it 3.5 as well, Toes, and I'll make up the other half. I'll make up the other half for Sharon.
Okay, cool.
I'm just trying to find on here that the film she did with Dirk Bogarde, because I'd basically say if anyone who wants to see the Judy Garland towards the end of her life, and you see how she was at the end of her life, this is the film to see. But I'm just trying to find
I could go on singing. 63 movie, that one. I could go on singing.
That's it.
I could go on singing. I might have to check that out.
So because everybody always thinks of her as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, or at a push, Meet Me in St. Louis, something like that.
Yeah, but you see this is about a woman who's at the end of her career. She's living in London with a younger husband and things are falling apart. And there's like a stage performance she does that I think it's utterly heartbreaking. Not intentionally, but it is because we've got hindsight. And I think people who made this film, Judy, I think they must have seen this film and there's elements of it in there.
All right.
But I would say, see that film if you want to see Judy at the end of her life.
Okay. Quick yes or no. So whenever somebody plays like a legend, everything like that, the inevitable Oscar chat starts. So Oscar nomination, yes or no?
I think she'll get nominated, but I don't think she'll.
Yeah, I agree with you. Probably a nomination there, but I shouldn't think she would win it.
All right, cool.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, thanks a lot for that, guys. That was something I was actually planning to see it earlier today, but I ended up not being able to because stupid work got in the way.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I know. It's like I actually have a job. What kind of nonsense is that? All right, I went self-employed, so I wouldn't have to do this anyway. But now we go back to we're going to Amazon Prime. We said that we have like 3 different platforms. So we've had Netflix with Westerplatte Resist, and now we have Life in Pieces on Amazon Prime. And Life in Pieces is a TV show that I stumbled across a couple of years ago. I mean, you know when you're scrolling across Amazon and they keep popping stuff up. And they had this thing called Life in Pieces, and it looked like it was like a family. It was a sitcom set around this big, massive family. And have you guys ever seen a show called Modern Family?
I'm aware of it, but haven't seen it.
Yeah. So, and I resisted watching Life in Pieces because it looked to me, the poster and everything that they used, it looked to me like it was just a total Modern Family ripoff. And I love Modern Family, so I was like, what? I'm not going to bother watching that. It's just going to be like, a lesser form of another show. But then I caught an episode of it on like, Comedy Central or something. And I was like, what? That was actually quite funny. So I started watching the seasons on Amazon Prime and just sort of a bit like you, Shaun, with Big Mouth, just sort of like blazed through them, just sort of like burned through a whole the first 3 seasons. And so this is season 4 that I'm talking about now, and and I found out afterwards that it's actually the final season. The show got cancelled, and it ends in a very, very sort of like poignant place. But it's one of these shows that is it's based around a family, and you have like it's laugh out loud funny. Like there's just laugh out loud funny things, but that they're actually based in real life, like the kind of things that you can actually imagine happening in a family. It's based around a family called the Shorts. So you have the heads of the family, who are Diane Wiest, played by Diane Wiest, and James Brolin, so Josh Brolin's dad, Thanos' dad. And they're the heads of the family. They have 3 kids, and it's all about them. They're 3 kids who are now grown up, and their grandchildren and the kids' marriages and all that. But every episode, it takes a part of 4 short stories. So instead of watching, so it's almost kind of like a vignette. So you have like a 20-minute episode, but in that 20-minute episode, you might have you'd have 4 5-minute stories that tell the story of this whole family, and it will be about this one the kid's first day at school, this one's first kiss, or anything like that. And I just think it's situational, it's hilarious, and I would say go watch it, because I can't really tell you, it's not like it follows a narrative or anything like that. I can't really say much, but it's something that all I could say is that it's funny. Go watch it. You will not be disappointed. So
the thing is, what am I going to do now? Do I go Fleabag and then this, or what? I mean, there's so much now, isn't there? Really,
there is a lot.
What do you reckon? Do I need to see Fleabag first?
Well, we can do a game of 7 degrees of separation with this film and with our first film, with Joker and this, because Diane Wiest played Joaquin Phoenix's mum in a film called Parenthood.
Oh,
yes,
there you go.
Yes, she did.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of one of those 7 degrees of playing here.
Well, you could do, because there's loads of, Colin Hanks, so Tom Hanks' son, he plays one of the kids in this. There's Thomas Sadowski, who I really, really liked in the Newsroom. There is what's her full name? Betty, can't remember. No, Betsy Brandt, I think her name is. She was in Breaking Bad. And it's the cast is really, really good. The cast is really good. They fill their roles really well. And James Brolin is hilarious. James Brolin is hilarious. Like as this sort of like dad who is like it's essentially it's the kind of show where they make no bones about the fact that the grandma and grandpa still have like quite an active sex life, and you can figure out that this guy used to be a pilot and everything like that, and he just comes from like a totally different era. And I think Shaun, you'd actually really, really like him, and I think it's good because obviously now when you hear the last name Brolin, you think about Josh Brolin.
Josh, yeah.
And before this, I think James Brolin, the thing that that I most knew him for was for at one time being married to Barbra Streisand. And it's just good.
Oh, he still is, isn't he?
Is he?
Yeah, he still is married to Barbra Streisand.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know that they were still together. But that's the thing that I most knew him for. But in this, he is just fun. He's like one of those characters that you think, you know what? If that was a real person, I would just want to go hang out with them. And Diane Wiest is great as well. I mean, the whole cast is great. And I have to say something there's a lady called Zoe Lister-Jones who plays the daughter-in-law. Like, she gets married to one of their kids. And she is so sarky. She's so sarky. It's brilliant. It is hilarious. It's just such, like, first there's an episode where the people who married into the family decide to play short family bingo because they have this whole conceit where every Sunday afternoon they all meet up for a Sunday lunch in the grandparents' house. So they do this every Sunday afternoon. So there's an episode where they walk around and they start playing short family bingo because they're like, there's these things, they always do these things. So they have like a card and they say, okay, let's see who fills out when this person mentions the fact that he's an inventor, or that person acts inappropriately with a child or something like that. And it's a good show. It's a really good show. And I think it's one of those things that if you try and explain a joke, it stops being funny. So all I'll say is just go watch it.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I was thinking back to James Brolin. He was a bit of a star back in the day. I mean, I remember him from Westworld and a film called Capricorn 1.
Yeah.
But were just classic films of
Capricorn 1, where the fake landings.
The fake moon landings or fake Mars landing or whatever it was from 1977. But he was a bit of a thing in his day.
Yeah,
he was. His lad looks very much like him.
Yeah.
You can see it runs in the family.
So worth checking out then.
Family.
The more mature James. Yeah, we'll check it out.
So season 4, I'll give it. I forgot to admit, I'll give it 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 for Life and Pieces season 4. And the funny thing is that, talking about people who look like Brolins, if you look up an actor called Tom Lipinski.
Yeah.
From what we know, he is not related to the Brolins, but he is a dead ringer for Josh Brolin in the 80s. If you look, he looks like Josh Brolin did in The Goonies. It is so.
Right.
It is scary how much he looks like Josh Brolin. And so much so that there's a film called Labor Day in which he played a young Josh Brolin. Even Josh Brolin was like, oh my God, he looks like me when I was in the 80s. So, but look at Tom Lipinski. Well, dead ringer. All right, cool. We're now going to go on to cinema. And this is the film that only one person has seen. And now, Shaun, this is a film we spoke about last week. And we were lamenting about the fact that we were going to have to get a big city correspondent. I even spoke to Holly Neslin about it. I was hoping to have her on the show, but the problem was that we didn't know when we were going to be recording this, so I couldn't give her a time. So, and we lamented about this, saying, oh my God, these are the kind of films that just don't come to the provinces. It's not playing anywhere near me. It wasn't going to be on the island. So, but you actually watched this film on the island. And
I actually watched this. Yeah, they had it. I think there must have been a bit of a clamour because although it was a week late, they actually got it. They actually got the farewell. So,
Shaun,
I think it's the power of the podcast myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, possibly.
Sharon, I agree with you. I think that the manager of the Cineworld on the Isle of Wight listens to this podcast, heard us complain about it, and he thought, oh my God, I better get this film on. and so they actually go get the farewell and they show it. So, and to test this theory, Shaun, how many people were in the cinema?
I've seen this 2 times. So I've watched this twice.
Yeah.
Was it a packed house?
No. The first time I saw it, I would say, I don't know, about 20.
Okay.
And
then the second time I saw it, I could even tell you there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including me. Was there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with me included. There was 5. It was because I took some Chinese people to actually go.
Okay, so you see, Shaun,
there's 4 of us. There was only 4 of us. So there was two Chinese people, a French person, and me.
Oh, okay.
And at this time, but it was a Tuesday night. Me, a cat, thingy, cheapy Tuesday night.
Shaun, as far as I'm concerned, that is proof that is the power of the podcast, because that's about the number of people who listen to the podcast. So,
so cool. Well, there you go. Thanks, Silly World. Anyway, thanks for getting it. So, yeah, that makes sense.
So, what's it about?
Okay, well, basically, it's this film's about this Chinese family, this whole Chinese family. One brother sort of lives in Japan, and then you've got the other ones who live in New York, part of the two sons. So, and it's to do with their mother has got cancer, stage 4 cancer, really, really bad. And so they deciding that they don't want to tell her, so they're not going to tell her. Apparently, it's a Chinese thing. They don't inform them. I mean, there's a bit in the hospital where the sister goes in to get the results and says, "Oh no, you're fine, you're okay," and all that. And they've got this, and of course, there's this. One of the granddaughters is saying she needs to know. She's got to know. You know, I mean, it's illegal. And they say, well, this is China, and that's what they do.
We do have things differently there,
which is quite interesting, because they did say there was a bit in that where they said we have to carry the burden, because we believe that if someone knows they've got an illness, their knowing of the illness will kill them more than if they don't know they've got it. Yeah. Which is serious. I know this sounds really, really bad.
No, but the C word. That's why people say the C word, because as soon as they hear that, they think, that's it, I'm dead.
I've always said to myself as well, I would not want to know, really. And I probably, even if it was like 50-50, they said you got 50, I wouldn't want treatment or anything like that. So do you know what I mean? So I sort of sympathise with the way, but obviously you've got this granddaughter saying we must tell them. Anyway, so there's this pretense of another grandson from the Japanese family or the family that lives in Japan is going to get married, so they've got an excuse for all the family to get together. Yeah, there's this big excuse that they can all come because it's going to be the wedding. It's a wedding. It's a big thing. It's a big family thing. We're not going to say nothing. And they don't want the other granddaughter, the one that lives in New York, to come, because they say, oh no, you'll only spoil it. You'll let it all out the bag. Blah 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 blah. But anyway, she decides she's got to go, and so she's got this conflict where she turns up in China at the house and says, oh, really pleased to see you and all that. And there are times when you think, what's she going to do? You've got this conflict here and the other people of the family are looking at her and sort of, trying not to. And they stay in this hotel. And yeah, it's a great film. It's a terrific film. I mean, not really my you wouldn't think it'd be my sort of thing, but it was really, really good. And I think, like the two are getting married. He's getting married to a Japanese girl who can't speak a word of Chinese. So, and you can see that he's like, oh God, I've sort of looked like I'm being forced out, and they're all saying, oh, I bet he's knocked her up and all that sort of stuff. And that's why they've only been together for a couple of minutes. So it's quite. There's a few light moments as well as a few comedic moments in it. And it's just basically like a family drama. And at the wedding as well, you get all the. I really liked it because there's like, obviously the generation of the grandmother was obviously because there's pictures and things in the background where she was obviously when the Cultural Revolution was on, she must have been, and there's like some older men there chatting and saying, if I wanted to marry you if I had a chance, if you hadn't taken that wound and that. And then later on in the film, you actually see the photos on the wall of when she was younger and all that sort of stuff. So, and it is really, really interesting and really, really good film. And I think, I visited China, and there are things. It's like for the wedding reception, she goes, "Oh yeah," and I'll go and talk, and I goes, "Oh, you said it was lobster and it's crab," and the old chef comes out and goes, "No, it's crab. It's crab. We got crab." "No, you said it was lobster." So, and it is. It is. A lot of it's in Chinese with subtitles, that doesn't detract from it at all. And I thought this was a terrific film, a really, really. And terrifically well acted. The actress who
Aquafina,
she's brilliant. She was actually all of them were really, really good.
Yeah.
So what else has she been in? She must have been Crazy Rich Asians.
She was in Crazy Rich Asians, Ocean's 8.
Ocean's 8, that's what I've seen.
8, yeah. So, but I mean, she was brilliant. I really thought she played the part with the conflict really well. Does she? And
because everyone's raving about her performance because she's known primarily as a comedian, and people have been saying, "Oh my God, we didn't realize she could actually act." Oh wow, she's really, really good. So it's good to hear that backed up by somebody I know who doesn't. Well, you don't suffer fools. Let's put it that way, Shaun.
No, I don't suffer fools. Yeah. So yeah, it was a really, really good film.
Yeah, but
but like the hotel they stay in, the lifts. Oh yeah, this is a brand new hotel. Yeah, but the lifts are out of order, so you have to go upstairs and stuff like that. But that is what I mean. From the short time I was in China, that's what it's like. That's what it's like.
That's what you experienced.
I was in China and getting a connecting flight. We weren't even told that the flight was cancelled, and it wasn't unless someone else had told us. This Canadian girl said, "Oh, I think your flight's been cancelled." It was like, what? And we went and had a look, and that was like. Well, it was 6 o'clock, and the next flight out was like 8 o'clock, and we're like, oh, so we had to change the tickets and all that. No, there's no announcements, there's no nothing. It's just like that's the way it is. And it was like, Joe, what about this? But this is how China works, and it's a good job. Like we've got a friend Joe who teaches Mandarin, and he was doing a trip to China, which should have gone ahead this week or last week.
Oh yeah,
but. They just decided, the Chinese government decided, it was all sorted out through a company, and then the Chinese government said, well, we're not doing any group visas because we've got the 70th communist thing like that. And he's had to, it was a nightmare for him. And he had to tell all the parents, no, we can't go unless we all go up individually and get a separate visa.
Yeah.
We can't do it. So he's had to change the dates. But that's what they do. And it's like, if they want to bulldoze a place, like, okay, we're going to put a road through here. There's no say in the matter. They just do it. It's strange.
Okay, so going back to the film.
Yeah, let's go back to the film. Sorry, I do this. It's like my mind digresses off in loads of different areas. There's something.
Yes, I know, Shaun. It's like I'm the driver of a runaway train.
Yeah, it is.
So going back to the film, what did you think of?
Actually,
how many stars?
To me, I reckon you've got ADHD, and he said, but I don't care because I think ADHD people have got the most interesting conversations and stories to tell.
What score would you give the film?
Oh, what score would I give the film? Okay, here we go. The score. Oh, I'm going to give this one a 5.
A 5?
2 5s. Yeah, another 5 for this one. I really, really enjoyed this one.
Oh my word! You've had a good week.
I've had a fantastic week. I've really, really enjoyed this week. I've seen 2 films twice. So
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Absolutely brilliant.
I think that the only things you've seen in this film are things that you reckon are 5s, but obviously in very, very different ways.
Yes, definitely. Yes, yeah. I mean, I really, really, really did enjoy this movie, and I think you probably would enjoy it as well, Shaun.
Yeah.
I think.
This is a film that I really want to see because I love films that sort of shine a light on an area that you haven't seen much in cinema, and this sort of like the whole idea of how Chinese people deal with death or how a Chinese family deals with an impending death. It's like I'm like, ooh, I want to get in there. I want to see that. Oh, and Shaun, seeing as you sort of like this sort of films, it might be worth it you tracking down a film called The Wedding Party on Netflix.
On Netflix, okay, I will. I'll check
The Wedding
that
Party.
One. I mean, I quite
it's a
Nigerian
Nigerian
like the wedding ones. Oh right, okay, I will. I'll check that out. I quite like Table 9. I think it was called
Table 19.
Table 19. That's it. Yeah. So because I think they were great. Weddings are a really good sort of medium to where you can. Because everybody recognises what goes on, with like the dancing, all the and the rows and the drunk ones,
the table arrangements,
and everything. Yeah, so
how you can be inexplicably put on a table and thinking, why have I been? I once been to a wedding and I didn't know anyone I was sat with. All my friends were like on a completely different table, and then I later found out that I was put on that table because I worked for the police at that time, and one of the other people on the table was a policeman.
Right. So I know it's funny how they work it out.
I didn't know a single person on the table. It's quite bizarre. And I was like, why was I there? Oh, my cousin's a policeman, and we thought he might have something to talk about.
Well, we went to my nephew's. This is family wedding, and where the table was, it was quite close, but we had a bloody big pillar, so we couldn't see the speeches, and that was like, what's going on there? You know what I mean?
You know, guys.
It's a nightmare.
I've actually just given up trying to keep us on track.
Oh, I didn't get back on track. Sorry.
We're going to go one more film today. We can do this, people.
We've got one more film. One more thing.
Okay.
So Sharon.
It's already dark outside.
Okay, so Sharon, this is you're going to take us to a third streaming platform of the evening, a third streaming platform, and this was on BBC iPlayer.
Yes.
BBC iPlayer. And you watched something that, you said it's a Danish TV show, and when it has a title called Darkness, Those Who Kill, I'm like thinking, yeah, well, this is kind of like, because the whole thing about Scandi noir. I was just kind of like, you know what I would really love to see? I would love to see
a Scandinavian, a Swedish, Danish, whatever, comedy. I want to see a comedy because it seems, I'm not sure whether they don't have them, they don't make them, but if like all the content that we get over here that we get to see about Scandinavia makes you think that it's just full of a whole bunch of dour looking people who walk around in cardigans killing each other.
Yeah, it's a brutal, savage place by all accounts. That's if you believe these things. But yeah, this is a Danish crime drama called Darkness, Those Who Kill, and it's very much like The Killing, where it's full of sort of red herrings and false leads, and you think you know the suspect and the motivation, then it goes, oh, ha, ha, fooled you, and it just sort of brings something out of the bag. So it is an 8-part series. It's about a police officer called Jan and a police profiler called Louise, who are trying to track down. First of all, they're trying to track down a missing girl, and then it leads in. They find a body, and then it leads into the tracking down, or the trying to find a serial killer, and then possibly more than one. So it is, but it does look at their lives, their stories, as well as following this sort of crime procedural. So yeah, I enjoyed it because I loved The Killing a few years ago. The first series was obviously the best, and I've seen loads of Burn, The Bridge. I've seen loads of those ones of all the different countries they've been made in, because they keep getting remade in English, and then you've got the originals. So I do try to track down the originals as much as possible. But no, I do enjoy a bit of Scandi noir whenever I can get my hands on it. I do.
You like Skarsgård? Is he Scandinavian?
He's Swedish, yeah.
Swedish, he's the Scandinavian.
Mads Mikkelsen, he's Danish. Yeah, there.
Danish, Norwegians.
Anything?
Is he a Finn?
Oh.
I don't know. Viggo Mortensen, I don't know what.
Oh, well, anyway, sorry, we're going.
But no, yeah, sort of like Scandi men. I have to do my own calendar, won't I?
You will do.
But no, I enjoyed it as a crime drama. Some of the content was a bit gruesome, but not gratuitous. So that was, it was on the right side of good taste as far as you can get with a gruesome crime drama. So no, I enjoyed it. 8 parts, wasn't too long. Kept me guessing. Kept me wanting them to get the baddie, and I wanted to, and I rooted for the different characters. It wasn't entirely predictable, so I enjoyed it. So I would give it a 4.
Oh, cool, good stuff. Because I know that I remember the first season of The Killing. That was something that I actually thought was like, I thought the first season of The Killing was too long. I remember being absolutely exhausted by the time I finished watching that thing. But I was looking at the poster. Is Lars Mikkelsen in this?
No.
No, okay, cool. There was somebody on the poster who looked a bit like Lars Mikkelsen, who was in the first season of The Killing, was in Sherlock, and is brother to Mads. Yeah. Oh, all right, cool. So 4 out of 5 for Darkness, Those Who Kill. Right. Now, all that's left to do is to say who has won this week. Now, I think this is another one of those weeks where I think it's a little bit obvious.
It is obvious, I think.
It's a little bit obvious. Mainly due to Shaun's good week. Shaun's amazing.
Brilliant. I needed it.
Where he just sort of spent most of your week, it sounds like. You must have been like every night in the last week, just sat in a dark room watching something going, this is awesome. Awesome.
I went after work and late ones as well. So what happened is I saw the farewell after work on Monday, and then I saw it again at 8:00 on Tuesday. That was the when did I see Joker? I watched the Joker on Sunday night. I saw the Joker Sunday night the first time, and then the second time was last one at the 3:30 showing.
Okay, so Shaun, would you like to tell us who has won this week, Netflix or cinema?
Drum roll, I think by a commanding margin, and I'm really pleased, as you can see. I'm not like that, So I would think cinema sort of considerably this week gives cinema takes it. Account.
Cinema takes it with 4.17, and Netflix is lagging behind at 3.6.
Oh, well, it's only been 2 weeks because most of the time it's fairly close, isn't it?
It's fairly close, but there've been 2 weeks. 2 weeks where cinema has managed to pip Netflix to it. So that's for that. I'm sure that, as I said, you're really happy about that.
Yes, I am indeed. It's put my faith back. I should start going again a bit more because I was getting a bit Netflixy, a bit staying in and watching TV. But now it's inspired me to go out and see some movies. Okay. So good stuff.
All right, so just before we go, there's one thing I have to say. So you might have seen on Facebook, you might have seen on our Twitter page or on our Facebook page that we had somebody leave the podcast this week, and that is Squeaky Chair. You might not...
Oh no!
Yes.
Oh, Squeaky Chair.
Squeaky Chair is gross. Squeaky Chair is now just chair. I'm sitting on him because apparently last week when we were talking about Ready or Not, the squeak started freaking out Superfan Nina because Superfan Nina she thought somebody was in her house. She thought Squeaky Chair was coming to get her. So I took a kind of spray lubricant to it. I'm sitting on him right now trying to make him squeak, but no, he is quiet. We've taken away Squeaky Chair's voice. So Squeaky Chair is no longer with us, but hope this was Superfan Nina. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed your squeak-free podcast. Poor old Squeaky Chair. And just before we go, one final question that we need to ask is, Shaun, what do you think Aunty Nita would have thought?
She would have enjoyed that. I think she would have enjoyed that. Yeah, there would have been enough there to keep her interested.
Oh, that's good. That's great. Great to hear. Great to hear. Rest in peace, Aunty Nita. So now,
thanks, Toes.
No problem, man. No problem. All that's left to say is a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
We shall see you guys next week.